Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Kamhi, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
Greetings, and thank you so much for joining me, Kamhi, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. You can always listen live or online at iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn app, smart speakers, nccradio.org, or download our wonderful WHPC app, and you can have all day long shows from WHPC right on your smartphone. And also, podcasts of the show are available wherever you get podcasts, so you can check out your favorite podcasts like Apple, Google Play, Spreaker, you get it, any of them. So Herbally Yours consistently brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. And today we are so happy to have on board our guest, Dr. Stacey Funt. Dr. Stacey Funt is a medical doctor and a radiologist, also a health coach, and a lifelong global adventure traveler, as well as being a wife and mother. She received her BA in psychology from Emory University and her MD from NYU Medical School, and then completed training in diagnostic radiology at Mount Sinai. So she is well steeped in what we'll call conventional medicine. But Stacey's journey into health and wellness also began when she studied at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and the Institute for Lifestyle Medicine. So she obtained a certification by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches, along with training as a life coach through Coach Training Institute. So she is what I will call a learning addict, which is not necessarily a bad thing to be. But Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Now, we didn't get to your current fantastic project. I met your children, Stacey. So I know that because I believe we might have even met where one of your children was having a challenge, I think, allergies or something, and you decided to reach out for more information, such as holistic interventions, other than just the conventional. So I know it's been a while. Do you mind if I ask how old your kids are now?
My kids are now entering their junior year of college, my twins.
Wow. So it's
and I brought them to you when they were like 4 or 5. I think my son was 4 when I brought him.
That's what I'm ringing a bell of somebody about this high next to my desk. So that is amazing. Now, did you continue to use holistic interventions with your children as a mother as well as a doctor?
Yes. I feel like there's a whole broad selection of ways that we can parent and take care of ourselves and our children. So I don't even put any particular labels on it, but outside of my more conventional medical training, when I was in training, we had nothing about nutrition. We knew nothing, of course, at that time about the microbiome. There were just so many things. We didn't understand, gardening principles or anything like that. And so I've gone to other sources to learn all that and integrate that into how I've raised my children and how we take care of ourselves and the family.
It's wonderful, and I would love to see you one time, in addition to your current project, which we're going to talk about, which is LH Adventure Travel. What a great name. What is LH? LHadventuretravel.com.
So in my exploration of health and wellness, I found that there is actually a part of what you call conventional medicine called lifestyle medicine. There's a real academy, there are colleges, they have journals, and this is all about how the lifestyle choices that we make affect our health and well-being. And in particular, it's movement, it's how we eat, it's how we manage stress, it's how we connect with other people, it's how we sleep, and then if there are addictions, how we manage addictions. Like that's all encompassing. And so I started to study that, and I was fascinated by all the science behind it and all the research and the great impact that just lifestyle changes have on our well-being and avoiding chronic diseases. And so I formed a company at that time. This is like 10 years ago, called Lifestyle Health LLC. So instead of medicine, I was about the health. That's where the LH is.
Oh, okay.
And yes, and I spent many years lecturing physicians on lifestyle medicine and physician wellness and burnout prevention, and trying to educate at that level some of the other practices.
So that's why you named it. I didn't know the LH is Lifestyle Health,
Yes.
Adventure Travel.
Yes. So I had this wellness business. And then on a side, as you mentioned at the beginning, I have been a global adventure traveler my entire adult life. It's just been my number one passion always. It's been a big part of my life. And so quite a while ago, I started thinking of integrating the two, because health doesn't take place in the doctor's office or the nurse's office or the osteopath's office, right? Health takes place in how we live and how we play and how we work, right? That's where our health actually takes place. So I thought, well, wouldn't this be wonderful? Because these are the vacations I love to go on. Wouldn't it be wonderful just to have groups of people? And right now I have women. At one point, I will have couples as well, women and a partner. But for now, all my travels are groups of women. But for us to experience in community, bringing in these factors of lifestyle medicine as we, move in magnificent landscapes and explore diverse cultures all around the globe. So that was the concept.
This is something that anybody who's listening can look up. And the best place to find it with beautiful pictures is lhadventuretravel.com, correct? .com.
Yes.
And that's where you can see Dr. Stacey along with a lot of really happy participants. And as she mentioned now, it's for women that you're doing it. Although, now, doesn't your husband like to travel too?
He does. He's a wonderful traveler, and he's a big hiker. And at some point we will combine, and we'll have some with women and their partners. Yeah, we're waiting for him to leave he's a teacher, so we're waiting for his schedule to open up, and in time we will do that.
Yeah, because I thought I even remembered that when you guys came in, that he was also athletic and somebody who loved the outdoors. So I was like, doesn't he feel like he's left out? Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about what goes on one of your trips, because you're talking about it is fun, but it's deeper than fun. It's deeply rooted in your belief that exploration is about visiting, but also personal growth, healing, and connection.
Yes. Yeah. So this is experiential. And I'll just give you an example. We go to Morocco or Guatemala or Peru. So we go a group of women. And when I curate the itinerary, I've researched everything. I've been on my research trips. I know the countries, and I pick out my favorite things. And all of my itineraries include 4 aspects of lifestyle medicine. So they will all have movement. So we'll hike in the mountains in Morocco, and we'll kayak on the Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. And so everything will have movement. We're not going to trek up, Kilimanjaro. It's moderate movement. Every trip will have healthy eating. So pretty much just leaving America, you're going to eat better, right? Because most countries...
Wow, wait a minute. That's a pretty huge statement there.
It is. And I will, there may be some countries that's not true, but most of the developing countries and most of the countries that I choose, it's predominantly whole foods in their diet.
And they don't call it whole foods. They just call it food.
They call it food. They call it food. When we go to Morocco, we do cooking classes often on the trips, and all of it, the food is outstanding. Antigua, Guatemala, it's such a gem. Most people don't realize the food. It's like a culinary delight. So
let's go into that, because I also lead adventure trips. It's called ecotoursforcures.com, and you can find it anywhere. Also, ecotoursforcures.com. We've been doing that with my business partner, Dr. Eugene Zamperone, who's often here on Herbally Yours as well. I think this might be our 35th year leading those tours. But that is one of the things that's so true, because we'll actually take people out fishing for their own fish and then cook it the traditional way with native people who live there.
A lot of people in the world, this is how they live today.
Right.
Just recently, like in Morocco, they use a lot of oils and, of course, all the spices. In Guatemala, we go to the medicinal herbal garden. In Peru, they have a lot of natural medicine in Peru. They have a lot of herbs and remedy, and this is a regular part of their it's a regular part of their culture. So healthy eating is a big part.
But I don't think you are a physician and you are really trained, even in lifestyle medicine and all the other things you've studied. You can say they're doing healthy eating, but they're not taking extra steps to do healthy eating, right? This is just traditional eating for them.
Yeah, I mean, much of the world, they eat whole foods.
Right.
They just don't have the level of processed food that we have, and that's the big difference.
It's horrible. I mean, it's something that really gets my ire up, because if you look at especially children in a given day, or adults, it's like ultra-processed food and nothing else for the most part. And then we look at in places like that where the medium income might be so much lower, but yet the health outcomes are so much better.
Well, in different aspects, right? In terms of diseases related to particular foods, it might be. I mean, we have wonderful medical care for certain things in this country, but yes.
So when you go, you're going on the trip, and so how does it work? Like on a physical level, people can go to your website and see various.
I'll just finish with the itinerary for 1 second.
Perfect.
We have the food, we have the movement, then we also have stress management, right? Relaxation. So every trip will include either we're staying at a spa, or we visit the hammam, or we're under the stars in the desert.
What's a hammam?
A hammam, that is like Morocco hammams are very popular. It's a traditional. It's like a ritual bath and scrubbing. And I mean, you feel like Cleopatra, it's really somebody scrubs your whole body down, and it's really a wonderful experience. We try to always do things that are unique to that country, for those who want it. No one has to, but it's really a lot of fun to experience these different things. So every trip will have opportunities for real relaxation. And then, of course, community, because so much of us live isolated. So a big part of this is we have our dinners together. We have evening discussion. I'll have certain prompts during the time, and we really form a sisterhood on these adventures. It's been absolutely wonderful. The people who come and the things that we do really facilitate bonding and support. So that's a big part of the trip as well.
So how do people, they may hear the show, right? Or hear about it some other way. And then the first step is they might go to your website, and we'll announce that again. So you tell us the website again.
Yes, it's lhadventuretravel.com. And then they can see on my website all my upcoming trips, and they can read all the reviews. I have lots and lots of reviews, and a little bit about me. And I also have a whole resource page from all my coaching days with my favorite recipe websites and mindfulness meditations. And I have a whole section on healthy travel, things like that. But anyway, if anybody's interested in a trip, then through my website, they contact me, and then we have a discussion, usually a Zoom one-on-one, because, some of these trips, the Inca Trail, we're doing a day hike on the Inca Trail in Peru, or we, just to really make sure that the person interested, we're very clear what the trip is, that they can answer all their questions, and then they can see if it feels like a match for them.
So I want to remind our listeners, thank you for joining us today here on Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. You can listen live or online at nccradio.org or on iHeartRadio or any other podcast venue. That list is growing and growing thanks to the folks here at WHPC. For more information on today's guest or topic, you can always email us at whpc@ncc.edu or get in touch with me personally at naturalnurse.com. And today, we're so happy to have as our guest Dr. Stacey Funt, and she is a medical doctor and also the leader of the trip we're talking about here, which is LH Adventure Travel. So, Stacey, I would love to see, I know in the past you have talked about doing one-on-one with people who want to learn more about lifestyle medicine. Are you doing that at all, or are you really focusing on these trips?
I'm focusing on the trips now. I have other people I can recommend for one-on-one for lifestyle medicine, but I'm still working in a hospital system, so this is it.
So that's a good way to expand your reach by offering this kind of adventure travel.
I mean, I love it. I really do. I mean, travel to me, it's just so enriching, and it's just so fulfilling, and expands me in ways beyond what I ever imagined. And so it's really exciting for me to create this this vehicle for to go in community and to be with other people. So it's exciting.
So how has doing these trips, or even your own personal travel, affected your views of health and wellness?
Oh, it's a great question. I was just in Peru. Now, I'll give you this example. I was just in Peru not too long ago with my husband, and we went trekking. We went on a 4-day trek through the highlands of the Andes, right? And it was a cultural trek. There are no roads. You can only get there if you're trekking or you're on a horse. And we went to visit these communities living in the highlands of the Andes Mountains. And these are very remote, isolated communities. The cultures are, they're the ancestors of the Inca population. They speak Quechuan. They don't speak Spanish. And we went through, and they are extremely poor. They have limited education. And we spent time with them. We spent time in the communities. We spent a little time.
So let me just jump in. Where would you stay? I mean, they don't have like a,
camped. Yeah.
Okay.
We were camped. Yeah. But we went with people that helped us with the camp. We weren't roughing it by ourselves. Like we were part of a group. There was one other trekker with us, and then we had staff with us, and we camped, and we had some horses carrying our gear, and this is what we did. And these people were beautiful. They were absolutely beautiful, and they need resources, definitely. They need education, definitely. But where this has shifted my belief so much is that these people are in a wonderful community. They're not starving, right? When you don't have food, that's a whole different ballgame, but they're not starving. They grow their food. They have enough to live on like that, right? And then you look at them, they have such connection to their land. They have such connection to their heritage, and they have such connection to their community. And I thought that was so beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And I was asking questions about, healthcare, and if they really have emergencies, they have to go very far away. I'm not saying they live in utopia in any way at all. But what I am saying is it did shift my perception. If you would have told me about a community like this in the past, I would have thought, how terrible, right? And then I go there and I see that there is more in life, these non-tangibles that add so much to our health and well-being. Like, these people were radiant. The children's smiles were beautiful. They seemed peaceful. They lived in this magnificent natural setting. The only time we had to move over traffic were the herds of alpacas, and so it just opened my ethnocentric mind. that there's more than just the way I was raised to believe in what we value here, that there are other things that contribute to health and wellness that are also important.
And I love that kind of situation so much that years ago I actually passed through a village in southern Mexico. It was actually Santa Cruz, Mexico. And I enjoyed it so much, that experience and connection, exactly what you're talking about. No running water, no electricity. I stayed there for 2.5 years. Living in a palapa, which is a grass house, with no floor, no running water, no electricity. And I would say that is actually, thinking back, one of my really favorite times in life. And the only reason that I made the decision to leave was because of the encroachment of civilization, which unfortunately is sad in a lot of those really remote areas. In my case, down the river, everybody drank the water out of the river, no running water anywhere. They did their wash in the river. How they did their wash was with yucca berries. They shook them up, and it makes a little saponification, good enough to wash your clothes. But then the U.S. exported that highly toxic laundry detergent. This was around 1972 or so. And then the women started using it to wash their clothes. And they said, ay, que limpia, que blanca. They never saw such nice white clothes in their life from the Yucca within months. When you talk about microbiome, the microbiome of the river was destroyed within months, and people came down with horrendous dysentery, which never happened before in all the centuries and eons of time living there. And that's when I said, you know what? I need to go back to civilization and try to work on blocking that from happening. Not that I ever was able to, but it's really sad when they get disrupted. Did you see what kind of water source the people where you were had?
So they had runoff, we were in the mountains, they were snow-capped mountains. It's high. So they had the fresh water from the mountains, and they did set up irrigation systems. Ellen, the one thing that you said though, that I do, I don't want to romanticize living in these communities, right? Because the thing that you and I have is choice, right? You chose to go back, right? So I do want to emphasize, I'm not romanticizing everything, and I am grateful from where I come from and where I live. But I do think it's incredible to see these other places and start to see just other ways people live. And I've seen that in so many countries. I've been to Tanzania. I went to the island of Zanzibar, and there they didn't have, we had to go hut to hut. One hut had bananas, one hut would break bread. They had so little. It was so authentic, but the children were smiling and nobody had anxiety that I could see. It was just so,
that's an amazing lesson, because like you said, in where we have so much, an overabundance of stuff and electromagnetic fields everywhere. How happy is the society when we look at anxiety, depression, all that, which seems to be much better in situations like that, where there's more like internal connections of the community to each other. Well,
that's it. I think, internal connections to the community, perhaps external connections to whatever their spiritual beliefs are, perhaps a purpose in their role of life, like whatever it is. It's different, I think, different for different people. But I think we've become much, we've become so much more isolated in this country, and busy, and I think disconnected. And that's what I think travel affords us, an opportunity to reconnect to ourselves, to reconnect to other people, to reconnect to nature. And that's really, I think, what my trips are really about, to have this experience of reconnection and being really awake and present to what is around with other people. And I think that's what I love so much about it.
So when people attend an lhadventuretravel.com, that's where you can look it up about it. What's a typical day like?
On a trip?
Yeah, on a trip.
Oh, it's so different. It's so different. Like right now I'm planning 2 new itineraries right now, one in Peru and one in Tuscany. And, I do adventure travel. So it is busy, like, with space carved out for relaxation. So like Tuscany, I'm planning right now. We're just going to meet up in Florence. It's too busy. It's too crowded, Florence. We'll just meet up there. But then we're going to be spending a couple of days in Chianti and a couple of days in the Val d'Orcia. And during that time, we'll go e-bike riding. We'll go hiking. We'll soak in thermal baths in Bagno Vignani. We'll do a cooking class and wine tasting. And, so every day I weave in different parts of the itinerary, but I really try to leave space for breathing room. Like we have some yoga classes thrown in there. I just did my itinerary for Peru, and there we have to acclimate for 3 days, before going on the Inca Trail. We'll hike.
Because it's so high. It's high.
Yes, yeah, because it's it's like 9,000 to 10,000 feet is the Sacred Valley and Machu Picchu. And then Cusco, where we go at the end, is 11,500 feet. And I even have an option to go to one of the Rainbow Mountains, which is like almost 16,000 feet. So we spend the first few days acclimating there. So the first few days we'll visit like a women's weaving community, and we'll go to this corn farm where they do a farm to table lunch, and we learn all about corn, and so every day I weave in different things to make an adventure that I would really want to go on.
Now, what if, because this has happened on our Echo Tours for Cures as well, where somebody comes, they love to do everything, but let's say then you're going on a hike that might be too challenging for that individual. Does that ever happen?
Well, what I do, like I'm going to Morocco soon, and Morocco I'll probably do every fall. I've been to Morocco before. I have 3 different levels of guides. And that's also part of the reason we have the one-on-one, because you have to be able, Guatemala, that's a much easier trip because we do a day hike to hike a volcano, but somebody doesn't have to hike at all to be on my Guatemala trip. But Peru or Morocco, there's hiking, and you want to be able to walk a good 5-6 miles, and you want to be able to climb 1,000 feet, pretty much. Like, it's moderate hiking. But I will have different levels. And like Peru, I have the option, it's very inexpensive for anyone who's feeling insecure about that, to hire their own private hiking guide. It's like $60 for that day to go at your own rate. Or like if someone injures themselves, or something right before the trip, there is a way to bypass the hike and you could just take the train to Aguas Calientes and meet us and go to Machu Picchu the next day. But I think most people who come would want to do the hiking. And, I had one person who signed up, and she said, you know what, this is going to be my commitment. I'm going to get into shape. And she's coming with me in October, and she emailed me the other day. I'm so excited for her. She's doing amazing. She's training. It was like her goal. And I have no doubt she'll be able to do it. None at all. So
there's levels, and you will work with someone to determine if they're probably appropriate. And if there's a day they don't want to hike, they can stay at whatever beautiful place you're staying, or meet
only
you
on
elsewhere.
certain trips.
Right.
Not Morocco, because Morocco, it's a big country with poor infrastructure. So every day in the middle part of that trip, we're 5 nights, 5 hotels, because we're making our way up to the desert and kind of, that's an active trip. So somebody thought maybe they were interested in that. And then after our discussion, we came to the conclusion that wasn't the right trip for them.
Well, perfect.
It would be perfect for them, because they don't like to move that.
So you're really giving a lot of guidance. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Stacey Funt, for all your work and for setting up this wonderful LHadventuretravel.com, and people can look into it. And I want to thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you, Ellen. It was a pleasure.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning into Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email us at whpc@ncc.edu. And this is your host, Ellen Kamhi, at naturalnurse.com. You can get in touch with me there, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.